It was 1987 when Steve Cook, a radio producer from Michigan, decided to play a prank on an unsuspecting city. He was a folklore enthusiast and gathered things he found interesting from old stories to compose a poem, which he named The Legend. He later added music and recorded the song himself. On April Fool's Day, this song was unleashed upon Traverse City. However, Cook's amusement was cut short when he received calls from his audience. Call after call, people came forward to say that the so-called legend that he sang about was in fact real. Steve Cook's The Legend told the story of some type of creature akin to that of a dog with human-like traits. It could walk on two legs and reportedly stood at 7 feet tall. According to the song, this Dogman creature showed itself on years that ended on 7, and while it never attacked anyone directly, it was said that it left a trail of victims, both human and animal, dead from fright. Anyone who listened to such story would have immediately assumed that this creature was a werewolf, or perhaps even Bigfoot, but Steve Cook purposely chose the Dogman creature as to make it less menacing and more unsettling. And so unsettling it was that Steve Cook's song became popular all over Michigan, and rumors of an actual Dogman began to spread. Cook then had to come forward and declare that the Dogman story was fictional and completely made up. But that's not what history says. There have been tales of creatures with similar traits to that of the Dogman throughout North American history. First, there's the skinwalker from the Navajo, a witch who could take the form of an animal or possess it. Their actual name was this, which is translated as, by means of it, it goes on all fours. People are so afraid of this creature that they even refrain from saying its name out loud, fearing that doing so would attract its attention. Even children, who with their carefree and mischievous nature, would balk at the idea of saying its name. Legend says that a skeptical man living in the reservation once called out the skinwalker's name just to see what would happen. Allegedly, he was haunted with nightmares and vivid hallucinations of the creature, giving him not a single moment of peace and quiet. Fearing for his sanity, the man sought out the help of a tribe elder who would perform a ritual to keep him safe. The skinwalker can transform into any animal at will. However, they don't always look completely normal. There's always something very odd about them, off-putting. Either they'll be missing a tail, or have human eyes, or perhaps they'll be larger than usual, and even be resistant to bullets. This might sound familiar to those who have heard the story of the Skinwalker Ranch. Then there was the tale of the Wolfman from the Blackfoot tribe. To summarize, long ago a man was left to die by his 2 wives, who had conspired to get rid of him. Before the man could succumb to his injuries, a wolf pack took pity on him and accepted him into their family and healing his wounds. The man was granted a new body, one that was both human and wolf, which allowed him to outsmart human hunters by triggering their traps and stealing their food. And yes, I know I said wolf instead of dog, but the concept is not lost in translation. Furthermore, the idea of dogs turning into people or people turning into dogs is nothing new. Ancient Greece had a word for it, synanthropy, similar to lycanthropy. This is from the word kaion, meaning canine, and anthropos, meaning man or human. But as mentioned earlier, what makes Steve Cook's version of the Dogman so unsettling is the pattern of sightings, more than the creature itself. It began in 1887. A few lumberjacks came across a dog in the forest. Curious, the men chased after it, only to stop dead when the animal let out a bone-chilling scream and stood upright. 10 years later, a farmer was found dead, slumped over his plow, and even though there were dog tracks all around, he did not have a single scratch on him. Sometime in 1967, A group of young adults were sleeping in a van and were woken up in the middle of the night by scratching sounds. The cause of these sounds was none other than a dogman peering into the window and grinning down at them. This pattern continued, with sightings occurring every year that ended in a 7. Whether this is a coincidence or people just became conditioned to expect these occurrences is not known. The Michigan Dogman may be a recent urban legend, but there are crumbs of evidence that the idea of a half-dog, half-human has been prowling around in our folk tales and mythos for centuries.